Diana Cabrices. I'm the Chief Evangelist here at White Glove, and I'm joined by Matt Morris, who is an absolute expert on this topic. Matt, maybe you can jump in and give everyone a quick intro on who you are.
Yeah, I'm Matt. I'm the CEO of EncorEstate Plans and had a blast over the last few years building out this platform and creating this opportunity. My background is over a decade in wealth tech. I was one of the very first employees at a little fintech firm called Riskalyze back in the day and kind of came of age there, just like Diana did as well, and within wealth tech. And out of that, really saw the future as I did in 2014 at Riskalyze. I saw it a few years ago with this estate planning opportunity, and really what we'll jump into here in a minute on the broken nature of the experience for clients and the humongous opportunity it is for advisors to step in and deliver meaningful results. And so that's been the focus at Encore over the last few years.
That's awesome. Can't wait to learn more about Encore today and share with everyone what you guys have been building. On that note, I just want everyone to know you've joined this webinar. It's hosted by White Glove and Encore Estate Plans. But regardless if you use White Glove, regardless if you use Encore Estate Plans, you will take away some good information from this webinar that you can go and apply in your business, in your conversations, and in your marketing. So I do want to be clear and upfront about that. The other items here, just to note, we do have the chat box open. We encourage as many questions as you'd like to ask us. What's burning? What's top of mind for you? What are you confused about? Comments, concerns, anything that you want to share along the way, we'd love to hear from you. You will find that this will be a very collaborative webinar. Although we cannot see you and we can't hear you, we definitely want to know more about where you're at with estate planning, how you're feeling about the topic, and we'll run some polls throughout the session today to be able to hear from you and get your feedback. We do have the chat box open, as mentioned. Please feel free to drop any questions. I don't believe you'll find the Q&A box open, but again, the chat box is open. So if you want to get your fingers going, let us know where you're dialing in from today. We'd love to hear from you. You should be able to go ahead and use that chat box. Okay, so exactly what are we going to cover? I mentioned a few things a moment ago, as did Matt. And we're going to start by laying some foundation here. We're not going to jump right into marketing just yet. We want to lay the foundation around the reality of estate planning for advisors, for their clients, and how currently that entire experience is broken. So what do you need to know there? Then we're going to open it up to this big opportunity. Where does technology really play a role for you right now? Things are changing really quickly in this space. There's a lot of growth, and we'll talk through some of that and what you need to know about technology. How to recalibrate the way you communicate estate planning to your clients. Right now, most of you, if not some of you, are probably saying, well, I've got an attorney, I'll refer you out, and that's your process. But we want to change that process because we do think you're the perfect people to actually lead that conversation and not just outsource that conversation. And then finally, of course, yes, we will cover marketing. We're going to talk about how to supercharge your marketing with estate planning at the forefront. We'll even showcase a few advisor success stories. Okay, so, go ahead,
I was
Matt.
going to say, I'm really excited about that piece of it because I know we have a lot of Encore advisors on this call today. And to think about this in context of the marketing capabilities because of the importance of the topic to individual investors is a huge takeaway that I'm excited for everybody to get today.
Absolutely. Let's launch our first poll. Before we get into the content here, we want to know, what is the state of your practice? Are you currently offering estate planning services in your business to your clients? So we'll give everyone maybe 20 seconds or so to answer. I'm just kind of making my way through this chat box as you do. We've got people from Phoenix, Minneapolis, Atlanta. Woohoo! I went to Georgia State. Troy, Michigan, Delray Beach, Vermont. Always wanted to go to Vermont. Yokati is joining us from New York City. Welcome.
And Coeur d'Alene, I'm here in Coeur d'Alene, kind of Idaho area.
There
And
you
so
go.
Coeur d'Alene in the background and my little Encore logo, I had them carve in the mountain behind me, which was nice of the Forestry Service to do. And so
You got a lot of power over there, don't you, Matt?
I wish. No, I just have
Okay.
AI in my Zoom background.
AI. Yep. We're all powered by AI now, right?
Yep.
Beautiful. I love seeing folks chime in the chat. Bob's in Asheville. Bob, I was just there last week. Love it so much. now that we've ran the poll, let's go ahead and end it. I'm going to share back the results with everyone. I want you to see what your peers are saying. So it looks like 60% of you, yes, are currently offering it in your business. Now, Matt, you also mentioned we've got a lot of Encore estate plan power users here.
Yep.
Not
Yep.
surprised to see this number. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely. That hopefully today they're going to have some takeaways on how they can advance with the marketing side. A lot of advisors have come to the estate planning category really thinking about, okay, let me help my existing clients. But I think the opportunity that will hope peel the curtain back on a little bit is how powerful it can be on a new engagement with a prospect.
100%. It looks like 30% of you are starting to work on incorporating this. So that is wonderful to hear. And I think you'll have a lot to take away from us today. So I'll stop sharing this poll. And we're going to, again, start by laying some foundation. So we've made a couple comments here that the estate planning experience is broken. What do advisors really need to know? Where the first thing I want to showcase is a very powerful graphic. And this is actually based on a study by Spectrum Group. This was done just a year ago. And what we're seeing in this graphic is that there is a huge gap. There's a gap between what advisors are actually offering and a gap between that and what their clients are expecting. Matt, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's actually three of the top five here that have estate planning components to it. And so the opportunity right now is really a greenfield for proactive advisors to get ahead of their competition and to really, we talk about differentiation a lot. Well, what an amazing opportunity to differentiate when such a low percentage of advisors are stepping into this gap, and an opportunity to get ahead of that. And I think eventually we're in a path where this is going to change
Yeah.
over the coming years, and this won't be such a wide gap. It's those who step ahead of it are ahead of the curve that are going to be positioned to take the most advantage.
I couldn't agree more. And one of the case studies, the success stories we have to share at the end of this webinar speaks to that exactly. Now, 22% of advisors are providing estate planning. What are our thoughts on the 88%?
So this is a fascinating Merrill Lynch study that of their investors talking about estate planning, and they asked the question, how do you think as an individual about a person who leaves this earth, passes away, and they didn't have an estate plan in place? 88% of people in response to that chose words like irresponsible, inconsiderate, and ignorant when speaking of those who passed away without an estate plan in place. Fascinating. The next slide here is of that same group. When they asked how many of you actually have an estate plan in place, only 58% of that exact same group had one. And so incredible level of cognitive dissonance that exists in most people, that they recognize it's irresponsible, inconsiderate, and almost ignorant to not have one, yet I don't
I
have
don't
one.
have
And
one.
so what is that gap? Why is that cognitive dissonance exists? And largely it has to come down to the experience of getting one in place, keeping it up to date. There's something wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's talk about the people that do have something in place.
Yeah.
You made such a good point
Yeah.
when we were planning this webinar. You made the comment from, if you told someone you had a financial plan that was built back in 2015, you do have a plan in place, but people would probably laugh.
Yeah.
Advisors would laugh in their head and say, well, that's from 2015.
Yes.
That needs updating. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and why is an estate plan really any different? The reality is maybe it doesn't need to be updated as often with the changes that occur from a financial plan. But the reality is a couple of years, life events that take place, health, wealth, family dynamics, relationships, there's so much that can change within our lives that would affect what we would like to think differently about our estate plan. But sadly, estate planning's been such a transactional thing, and it's expensive and a lot of work to take and make a simple change to it. And it's not a great experience. It's not an easy thing to do. And so the opportunity here that we speak to again, when the advisor can step in and actually make it easy to understand what's in that old estate plan, have an easy conversation about that in reflection of what today's reality is. And then when the client uncovers, oh, geez, we forgot we named that person as a successor trustee, that's not a relationship we have anymore. I need to fix it, the advisor can step into this gap, and technology and the services available now are dramatically changing the game on taking that old document and having it updated into a new document. So this is, even if you have a plan, they can be disasters waiting to happen if they aren't accurate. Just like my 2015 financial plan, then I'm like, I'm good. I got a financial plan. Well, if it's not current, if it's not reflecting reality, it's more of a disaster to think I'm okay just because I have one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like life is always changing, right? So the technology is there
Yep.
to help keep up with those changes. And on
Yep.
that note, let's talk about technology, right? Let's talk about this big opportunity that we're positioning here for everyone in the audience. Where it does the role of the advisor play now where
Yeah.
technology is in the picture. Whereas before, again, most of you were likely outsourcing and you have your COIs and you have your attorneys that you're passing these deals to, and then they're charging your clients tons of money for a document that is now stale in, let's call it 3, 5 years from now, needs another update. That is exactly where you could play such an important role. So let's talk about it. I'm going
Yeah.
to go here to this next slide. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on this, Matt?
Yeah. And this is kind of speaking to what exists today for most clients to actually get an estate plan in place, and their process and experience for that. And why is that cognitive dissonance there? It's largely the DIY affordable estate plan. There are no shortages of hundreds of different technologies and ways somebody can jump online, answer a set of questions, go through a questionnaire, submit it, and a piece of software spits back a document and says, here you go. Why has that not solved? We stand at 67% of Americans that don't have an estate plan. That should be an easy way to do it. Why hasn't that solved it? I think we all have a sense that we know what we don't know, and we know we don't know what we don't know, and the comfort level with I just did an input, it spit
Yeah.
back a document to me. I sure hope I won't be here to see if this document actually accomplishes what I wanted it to, but I sure hope it does. There's just not that level of comfort for most people without having a trusted human. So my option, okay, and every advisor here has referral attorneys. Attorneys are super important in this process. We use them within our process, obviously. But the experience of a client going to that attorney where I get to go to a stranger and I get to talk about death with this new person I met. I get to talk about my family dynamics with my kids and some of the relationships and the struggles. And I get to go really intimate immediately with a person I don't know very well and a person who's going to be a transactional relationship because I'm not going to revisit this for a number of years. And I get to spend thousands of dollars in the experience for a document that if I'm 51 years old. I don't intend to use my estate plan anytime soon. And I may change it anyway. And I'm going to spend thousands of dollars for a document that's going to be thrown away because hopefully I live long enough that I update it in the future. That's not a great experience. Where if I could then, and it kind of feeds into the next slide here, the trusted advisor that can leverage great technology that actually puts guardrails on their role, not as an attorney where they can't practice law, but the advisor leading the experience. One of the huge things that you have to think about in experience is hired differently, they're rewarded. I would say financial advisors are rewarded when they take the complex, they make it simple and they make it understandable. Most folks, most advisors in this call don't like to lead with standard deviation and Sharpe ratios to show their client how complex the thing that they're doing for them is.
Right.
But attorneys, they love to bring complexity to deliver their value, to charge the fees they charge. They bring complexity to the experience, which isn't actionable, which is overwhelming, which isn't a great experience. And so, just the core nature when the advisor who has that objective to make things easy and understandable, that's a better experience for the end client if they're facilitating the process. The attorneys often need to be in it, maybe on the back end, but they can be introduced later into the process, or the technology can leverage a lot of that. And so this is a dramatic difference for the end client.
I couldn't agree more. So you made some really good points there about, attorneys really being that transactional relationship where we know the advisor plays such an important role in just the entire financial picture. And we're going to talk about truly
Mm-hmm.
comprehensive financial planning there.
Yeah.
I love some of the things that we have here on this slide, right? Your advisor already has all of your information, your contacts. They understand your relationships. And this is also an amazing way to reach those children, to reach the next
Yep.
gen, because they're such a crucial part of the conversation. Makes the
Yep.
complex easy to understand, as you mentioned, whereas attorneys are kind of on the flip side of that. That's exactly how they get paid, right? And how they prove their value is through this level of complexity. I agree. There's so many reasons here why advisors should take this back into their hands. There's one big elephant in the room, and yes, we're going to address it. But I did see one of the questions come through from Nathan.
Yep.
He said, "Are you going to explain how this isn't practicing law without a license?" So, yes, Nathan, we're going to talk about that. That is the elephant in the room here. We will get to it. And Scott, yes, you will get a copy of these slides. We'd be happy to share those with you. Anything else you want to share on this front, Matt, before I move on to the next slide?
Yeah, and the emotional component of this is most advisors and financial planners have Kleenex on their desk. They've dealt with these deeper issues, and it's so powerful when I can go and have this conversation with that person I've already dealt with this emotional end of life legacy kind of thoughts. And so that's just again makes it easier for me to take action on the thing I know I need to do.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. So let's move on to this next segment here. What we're really going to do now, folks, is get into some best practices when it comes to technology. And yes, we're going to talk about the unauthorized practice of law. Now, I'm going to just
Mhm.
repeat something I said in the beginning of our session. Whether you use Encore estate plans or not, this will help you start to really recalibrate the way that you're talking to clients, the way you're thinking about estate planning, and how you can provide that to your clients and also use it as a prospecting tool. So this
Yeah.
next slide, it goes right into the Encore estate plan approach. Matt, let's let you go in
Yeah,
here. Dive right in.
it's really just about empowering the existing trusting advisor to deliver the highest quality estate plan experience, both with in a number of different ways, and but do it within the guardrails of not practicing law, which is let's tackle because it's a big one. It's an important one. And so, unauthorized practice of law, what it obviously is providing specific legal advice. Many advisors and many of you on this phone call and planners, if you're doing your job well, you're already talking about things like beneficiary designations. And you're helping your clients understand their decisions and how that affects the outcomes that they want to achieve. You can give legal advice, and many of you might be doing this, you shouldn't be around the conversation of setting up beneficiary designations. But what practice of law is not, it's not providing general education to your clients. And the importance of stepping into this estate planning gap is that where you can educate in a general way with your clients around estate planning issues, beneficiary designations, which you're probably already doing, this is allowing you to go to that next level, continue on an education front, and to help them understand what they need to understand without telling them what they should do. But when it's appropriate and when the attorney is there, that you have the resources available if they need legal advice. At Encore, we're a little bit unique in this and how we really actually put some serious guardrails on our process of when new documents are being created, that we actually disqualify situations that are complex from you, the advisor, being involved. And we recognize the time. There's a time and place your client should work with an attorney. And we help you recognize that and facilitate that. There's disclosures that are really important here that the client understands where you're actually helping them put their plan together themselves. They're making their decisions, that you're not an attorney, that just like we have lots of disclosures in financial services, we're good at those from a compliance standpoint, that's absolutely laid out and clear. And that documentation of the client's process of going through a questionnaire, often with their advisor facilitating the process, giving good advice, but leveraging resources. Providing education is also about leveraging resources when the clients have questions and having the resources available. We have Ariel on our call today who's built out our knowledge base and done a bunch of work there with hundreds of resources that the advisor can give to the client to help them as they make their own decisions and steer clear of giving legal advice to the client, but giving them the experience by facilitating giving them the resources they need to know to answer their questions.
I want to go through some of those questions here, but love that you called out Ariel. She's actually on the webinar now in the chat box. She just dropped a really helpful guide on avoiding UPL, the unauthorized practice of law. And we also got a comment from Sal Sophia. I hope I said your name right. And they said that they act as a facilitator and educator, right? So that's exactly what
Yep.
the point is here. You're allowed to provide client education. And I think it's great that the technology, is also supporting where conversations can go and really where they shouldn't go without
Yep.
actual estate planning attorneys. I'm going to go to this next slide, and I really like this graphic because it's a nice sort of pathway here. We're a starting point for conversations with clients, with prospects. Matt, let's talk through this slide a little bit.
Yeah, it's also, this is a life cycle. And wanted to think about it with the view of this slide of meeting your clients, but also in this case, we're going to talk about meeting prospects and meeting new clients, new opportunities, where they are, and having a solution from an estate planning capability wherever they are. They may be in a situation they need to create a new plan. They don't have one. Most people that don't have one recognize their need for one. This isn't something that needs to be sold, but they have procrastinated for some reason, and removing the objects of their procrastination is where you can step in and help. But obviously, a lot of people have an existing estate plan, but there's a huge gap and a tremendous opportunity for advisors to step into the gap of those who have one and haven't considered it since the day they got it in place. And they don't know, and it's a disaster waiting to happen. And so, being able to do what with the middle section here, that estate plan summary, that every advisor should be doing this, whether it's a great opportunity with prospects and with clients to really set yourself apart. Not enough advisors are doing this today, whether you worked with us or anybody else. Absolutely reviewing estate plans, helping the client revisit the decisions they made years ago, thinking about them in context of today, and recognizing the gaps. We find about a third of the time that people go, oh, geesh, I forgot we had this in our estate plan. They hadn't looked at page 73 lately and realized that that was a decision they made. It was appropriate years ago. It's not appropriate today. And then the delivering on the experience, and then having a partner like Encore is one where, as they go forward in your relationship with you, that you can keep those estate plans, just like their financial plan, from becoming stale and becoming out of date, and making it really easy experience for them to just jump back into a questionnaire they've already answered, make a couple of changes to it, and in a really affordable way and a really simple experience, keeping that plan up to date, without the friction that currently exists in updating my plan and finding a new attorney and paying a brand new cost and going and having multiple meetings, versus I just need to change this one thing, change that in the software, hit submit, documents are created for the client. Great experience, of super affordable. So that wherever they are in this life cycle, that you can meet them where they are
Mm-hmm.
and help them in a solution here is a tremendous opportunity and gap that exists.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And meeting them where they are, but also thinking about how much substance this would add to that annual review meeting,
Mm-hmm.
those
Oh,
annual
totally.
or quarterly
Yep.
conversations. And
Yep.
again, a lot of advisors are struggling. How do I reach the next gen? How do I reach the
Yeah.
children? Well, this is an amazing talking point to be able to do that. Let's talk a little bit about that summary, because you made a point about how,
Yeah.
regardless if you're doing the full plan or not, if anyone comes to you needing some clarity on their current documents, plug them into technology and get this beautiful
Yep.
visual estate plan summary.
Yeah, this is a tremendous opportunity on both of these fronts, both on the what's in my existing estate plan.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of advisors are doing that work, and it's great that they are, of actually reading the estate plan, pulling something out, having that conversation with the client at no cost. That's something that's a great opportunity to get your feet wet. Obviously, there's a lot of work there. We've set it up so that we make it as simple as possible. Upload those documents to our team. Our team will pull that information out and provide this deliverable back, which facilitates a great conversation. And again, changing the experience. The experience is I have a 60, 70-page document, and I have to look through that document to find this information. Why not deliver experience back to your client on your prospects on your letterhead that says, here's what 90% of what you need to know about your estate plan in one page,
One page.
with a summary of questions that you can actually have a good dialogue about the decisions they made in the past. They can then give this, if this is great, this is where they want to land. We obviously would provide this on any new documents. And so changing the deliverable is a big part of changing the experience and improving the experience. They don't get a deliverable like this from their attorney, that they have a summary page that they can share with their family members and the people who are named in this document that should understand their role, and that the advisor can step in and help educate the people who are healthcare agents on what it means to be a healthcare agent for your family member. And now that actually leads back to other family members recognizing their need there for help on their estate planning, whether it's updating or out of date or no plan at all, because a family member just got this done with their advisor. And it creates new opportunities for engagement with the family, the next generation of use, as you've said a couple of times, where this is a value that the opportunity to serve a greater audience around your client is a great opportunity for wealth retention and asset retention over the years to come as we step into that great generational wealth transfer.
Yeah, and I know we were talking about it earlier, right? The deliverable is the experience, but what creates that
Yep.
deliverable is the technology, right? So you
Yep.
have just this web and everything is connected and working together. I'm a big fan of one page anything, and I think a lot of advisors
Exactly.
are picking up on this as well,
Yeah,
especially when
exactly.
reaching that next generation. I mean, give us a
Yep.
60-page document. Yeah, right. We're not going to read.
Exactly.
We love TikTok. We love quick, short, summary.
Yep.
This is exactly where that really serves a good role. So
Yeah.
awesome slide. One more here in this segment, and then we're going to get into the crux of marketing. I'm so excited to
Yeah.
lead one. Let's talk about truly comprehensive financial planning. We know estate planning is part of the picture. So right now, if you are a financial planner offering comprehensive planning, this should absolutely be in the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is as we pivot, a lot of we even wind up at Encore talking a lot about existing clients and how to serve them and step into this gap. But the opportunity, as we've said here, and especially as we think about what White Glove can do for any advisor that wants to take estate planning seriously, obviously, I would love it if all of our advisors worked with White Glove, because it's going to create more opportunities for them to do estate plans, which is a win for everybody. But when we think about comprehensive planning, it includes all of these. But there's something interesting, and a Stephen Covey quote here from Seven Habits of Highly Effective Leaders is beginning with the end in mind with your client is an interesting, different way to approach comprehensive planning. And it makes a ton of sense if we are really mindful of it, that where do we all wind up? We aren't, none of us, we all are going to pass away at some point. If we think about this in context of what is that for the next generation, what does that look like? And I start with an estate planning conversation. Number one, I solve for an immediate need somebody recognizes they have today. They don't think they need a new financial advisor. They don't need a different portfolio allocation. They don't see a problem with their existing financial plan, but they have an advisor who hasn't helped them with an estate plan. And in that conversation, it's so rich, from learning their priorities, their values, maybe they're even their entire wallet share, because you're not talking about managing their money. You're talking about solving for this estate plan, and you need to understand the components of their wealth in that conversation. And the opportunity when you think about this too is, if they have a need today and I can step into that gap as a prospect, I have dramatically shrunk the time to value that I've provided something of value to this client. If I'm going to manage their wealth, do a financial plan for them, it's going to take a while before they go, was this engagement valuable? How long does it take to actually return value for your effort? It can take a year before they go, I'm so glad I did that financial plan. I'm so glad I gave this person my money to manage. I don't see that quickly, or I have the peace of mind of the financial plan. Estate planning is right away. And obviously the differentiation we've said, and a lot of our advisors, there's a huge opportunity from a new engagement prospecting opportunity. You can charge a financial planning fee for your time spent helping facilitate their estate planning needs. And in doing that, you can get paid almost while you're in discovery. You're doing the fact finder, you're learning this new opportunity as a client. Are they a fit for you? Are you a fit for them? You've had this conversation and you just got paid a planning fee. You've learned everything about them, their values, who they are, if they're a fit for your practice, if you're a fit for them, and you got paid for your time in doing that. And a lot of our advisors are even positioning this that if they want to become a wealth management client across the whole financial planning spectrum, that they'll waive the cost of the planning fee for the estate planning. And now you've just brought somebody new into your practice, all on their estate planning need and the opportunity you brought something new to them that their existing advisor, their existing planner relationship didn't bring. And so it's a great way. And I think this is where a white glove, where you guys can step in and just drive the opportunities to lead with estate planning and solve for an immediate need that's tremendous. So I'm excited to hear what you share here.
Awesome. Yes. Now that we've got sort of our prospecting caps on, let's really think
Yeah.
about the marketing side of all of this. There are a lot of advisors out there who have caught on to how important estate planning conversations are and how impactful that they are within their marketing. We work with many of them. And some of what I'm going to share with you in this next segment, folks, is advice coming directly from them. So I'll give a quick shout out to Bradley Grotto. He works with us at White Glove. He hosts a lot of seminars, and I got to watch him live in action at the recent Host University that White Glove puts on every year. We get a bunch of advisors in the same room. We talk about all these best practices. And he gave a sort of a dummy estate planning seminar, and I got to watch it live and just took away some really awesome talking points, golden nuggets that I'm going to share with all of you. So first things first, when we're talking about marketing and leading with estate planning, I'm going to start with seminars. If you're familiar with White Glove, then you likely know we are the leading seminar marketing company for advisors. And we have a system. We have a full-blown 10-step workshop system. We're going to talk about this system here in just a moment. But before we do, I'm going to skip to this next slide because we have different topics that we focus on at White Glove. So an advisor comes to us, they say, hey, I need help hosting an event. I want a prospecting event. I want to get 20 households in the room. Here's the location that I want. We really take all of that in and we do all the back end data, the research, the marketing, the advertising, the Eventbrite. We even create our own brand. So these brands that you're seeing here are actually created by White Glove. So we don't run seminars under the advisor's brand. The actual attendees don't know who they're going to meet with until right before the event. This is very intentional. We don't want people feeling like it's just another sales pitch. So we have three main topics, three separate brands here: taxes and retirement, estate planning 567, Social Security 567. And right now, what we're seeing is estate planning is leading in engagement, in attendance, and in fulfillment. Before we get to some of that data, I'm going to come back to the system here. And what we're doing again is we're choosing a topic that it's important to your target audience. And yes, Nathan, I knew that question would come in. I'll get to it in just a moment. Helping you set up a strong call to action, which I'm going to talk about here. So in the concept of estate planning, maybe it's an estate planning clarity visit, right? You have that special offer in the workshop. Maybe it's a checklist or a list of questions of some sort around this topic. When you get the meeting booked, and we help you do that with some interesting strategies here. I posted a video today on the sticky note method, which is actually a great way to get meetings booked in the webinar. We'll talk about that again. You've got reminders to make sure you're doing, you're kind of looking and seeing, are these people a good fit for us? You have that one-on-one meeting. You have some technology you're using. This is where Encore is an amazing insert, right? Give them that visual plan. Yep, Tim answered Nathan's question. The 567 in our brand comes from the first topic we launched, which was Social Security. Thank you, Laura. You get a client, you keep a client, you wow them, you have those deep conversations, and now you're getting referrals, right? So it is a full system. But kind of fast forwarding here into these topics, estate planning. What are some of the trends that we are seeing? Well, right now, we have seen consumer demand is outpacing advisor supply. This is why these estate planning seminars are getting the strongest attendance numbers, are getting the strongest fulfillment, even ROI, which I'll show you in a case study here ahead. This also speaks to exactly what we were talking about in the beginning of the webinar with the Spectrum Group and the research that they have uncovered there with that huge gap between the demand and the supply. We also know, and Matt, you've made some good points around this, estate planning allows for deeper conversations. You're not just talking about estate planning when you're talking about estate planning. You're talking about tax
Exactly.
strategies. What happens when you leave? How does this money move? What are the tax implications? How about for your widow? Life insurance, Roth conversions, different retirement vehicles that you're specializing in. And in the end, it is helping advisors stand out from their competition. We also talk a little bit about using your venue to boost your credibility, not your ego. Most of the time, you'll see us not hosting, a seminar at a steakhouse, but instead doing it at the local library or the local community center. I'll keep this slide up here. It's just some additional information on estate planning. For example, at White Glove, on average, we're seeing a fulfillment rate of about 108% on this topic alone. What does that really mean? Well, if you order 20 households with White Glove and you say, this is how many people I want to show up, we're exceeding that on average, as you can see, by about 108%. Another really important topic, taxes in retirement. But I'm going to stop here, take a pause, and kind of do a little bit of storytelling. Because going back to that elephant in the room, right? Am I really in the position as an advisor to have this conversation? Am I credible enough? I'm not an attorney. Well, the founders of White Glove, as you all may or may not know, the whole White Glove story, right, is that they ran their own seminars for a very long time. They came up with this strategy and then they built White Glove around it to help a lot of advisors do the same thing and have that level of success. But when it came to estate planning, there was a pause. And there was sort of that fear, is this, going to be the right topic to talk about? So what did they do? They turned to hiring an estate planning attorney and they brought that person in to do some of the workshops with them. 1, 2, 3, 4 workshops or so later, they realized we don't actually need an estate planning attorney here with us. So why is that? Well, there's really two sides to estate planning, right? You have the legal side, right? The attorney is actually the one that's creating the trust, for example. But then you have the other side, right? The non-legal side, the sort of life side to it, where you as the advisor, you're deciding on the funding of that trust. And that is where they really leaned in on. And I actually took some notes. This is from, again, the founders of White Glove, but also our friend Brad Grotto, who gave me that sort of dummy seminar. And I took some notes here and I want to share them with you, because what he does is he starts the seminar with a very powerful video. I think the one he showed me in real time was on Prince, but as you know, other celebrities like Aretha Franklin, for example, there was a lot of drama there. So starting with a powerful video, opening up to educate. Here's the legal side, here's the life side. Let's kind of hone in on that life side. Let's talk about advanced healthcare directives, power of attorney. What's the difference between, the will, the trust, irrevocable, revocable, and really creating that sort of flow chart. How does your money move? But then you're engaging them by asking them questions. You have a checklist on the screen with yes or no answers. Here's the first question. Have your documents been updated in the last 3 years? The second question, if you have a trust, is it funded? The third question, do you know how your estate plan works? The fourth question, are your beneficiaries up to date? Right? Those are all concepts that you can talk through as an advisor without UPL. And then you can even kind of think about tying this into things people can understand quickly. For example, we all have cars. Why do we get oil changes? Well, because we're told to, right? It's kind of a similar aspect with estate plans. You have one, it's built, but it needs maintenance over time. So you're giving them that understanding, those metaphors they can really grab onto. And then at the end of the seminar, you're going back to, again, asking questions and giving that strong call to action. What is a good next step for you here? I want to think about this. Do you have your tax bucket set up to effectively pass money on to your spouse? Do you have an IRA exit strategy? Is your plan currently set up for the unexpected death of a spouse? If you don't know all the answers to these questions, that's okay. Me, as the advisor, I'm offering all of you in this room an estate planning clarity visit. It's free. There is no obligation here. You can just talk with me. We'll talk through some of your questions here. And oh, by the way, in the back of the room, there's a big board with sticky notes where I went ahead and reserved different appointment slots for all of you in the weeks ahead. Grab the one that works for you. We'll make sure we send an appointment reminder for your calendar. All right, so that was just, again, a little bit of what Brad shared, of what some of the folks at White Glove have done and having success. It's about staying in your lane, and it's about really giving them that, like, hey, I'm a trusted advisor here to help you. Do you have these questions answered? Likely not all of them. Let's meet and let's talk.
And Diane, if I can speak to that too, real quick, on the power of that, there is
Yeah.
so many gaps that exist within estate plans and unfunded, and all these problems that you expressed there that are gaps that people don't understand. So many attorneys will just let them go and say, "All right, take this deed down to the county and make sure you put your property in the name of the trust so you can avoid probate." That doesn't happen. Attorneys actually make more money if that house winds up getting probated.
Yeah.
There's sadly a financial incentive there, and for the advisor to step in and say, no, we're going to wrap up those details and we're going to make sure your family and your heirs don't have to go through a probate process and do that. I mean, the value there and the opportunities are just off the charts where there's gaps, and that time to value that you found something for this client that they didn't know they had a problem is a great way to win a why didn't my current advisor find this gap that I had that you've now brought from my overall estate plan. So
Yeah.
just incredible stuff.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And again, that's really where you kind of split it up. I think he was referring to it as estate planning 101, that's the legal side, and
Mm-hmm.
estate planning 202, that's the life side. And that's really
Absolutely.
where you get to showcase as an advisor what you do best, what you know best. I
Yeah.
want to quickly highlight social media as well. And while I do this, I just want to remind everyone that's on the call with us, feel free to drop any questions. We do have a live Q&A coming up ahead. I love seeing the engagement in the chat box, and we're going to run our next poll in here in just a second. But I'm picking on an advisor right now from social media. His name is Brett, and I follow Brett on Twitter. And what I've noticed is that Brett has really good content that simplifies estate planning. And these are things that all of you, if you don't already, start to get that education, whether it's through your partnership with Encore or with White Glove or just general nature, right? Doing your own research, start to really think about how can I lead my marketing with these conversations. My social media is absolutely a place you can do that. Now, some advisors, they're all about repurposing content. I think that's crucial. I think it's vital if you want to succeed in your marketing. And we'll even have advisors who are doing these estate planning seminars with us. They put a camera up in the back of the room. They take that video, chop it up into little segments, that goes out on social media. So you're already educating there and repurposing the content. But Brett did a great job here on Twitter. He starts off this thread and it says, if I'm creating a trust, why do I also need a will? As we work through the estate planning process, I often hear this question. Let me break it down for you. And I'm actually going to hop over to Twitter just to show you quickly here how he breaks it down, right? So there's this main tweet, and then you have these subtweets. If you're thinking about Reddit, right? Like sub threads. And you can do this without the threads. You can do this with the threads. If you're on LinkedIn, for example, it's a great place where you can just put all your content in one post. Twitter's a little different with characters. But he goes on to say, without a will, your trust will only apply to property that has been transferred into the name of your trust during your life, property that is payable directly to your trust as a result of your death, such as life insurance proceeds. And then he kind of goes on to talk about how your will assures assets and tangible properties owned in your name move to your trust at the time of death and what else it can do for you. And then he says, hey, if this is helpful, here's where you can follow me. So this is a little bit more digital strategy. But the thing is, when it comes to great marketing, folks, it's not just digital. Social media is important. Your website is important. Your email newsletter is very important, but it is not the end all be all. In fact, in a world where we are so digital, I cannot stress enough that getting in person, right? Getting physical, getting to be in a place where you can shake a prospect's hand, where they can feel your energy, you can present to them and educate them in an actual room. Nothing can beat that. So again, a blend of digital and traditional is important. Think about social media, use the assets you already have from your seminars, chop up those videos, and you have a repurposed, really strong content system around estate planning. Okay, I am curious. How many of you right now are using estate planning in your marketing? I'm going to launch this next poll, and let's go ahead and hear from you guys. Do you currently position estate planning in your marketing? I think we're going to start to see this more and more, Matt. What do you think?
Absolutely. Because it's just a tremendous opportunity. Obviously, we have some relevant laws changing potentially within the next two years as we look at the estate tax exemptions possibly coming down, depending on what Congress will do. And so it's also ramping up. That'll be a news story. And to your point, Diana, that when estate planning is in the news, what a great opportunity to be a thought leader around that topic. And that's coming in the next 2 years. Obviously, you can also use the Aretha Franklins of the world as an
Yep.
opportunity when that's a story in the news to be additive to it for advisors to put content on what's newsworthy at the moment.
Yeah, tons of media opportunities. I could not agree more. Let's look at these results here. And thank you, everyone, for participating. Again, it's great to hear from you and make this as engaging as possible. 66% of you said yes. This is a very exciting number to see. 31% of you said no, and 3% said not applicable. So we definitely hope the 31% of you here got some
Yeah.
inspiration on thinking about it, and that the other 66%, maybe there was a few things that you took away and how you can ramp up even further with estate planning in your marketing.
The one piece I'll mention there too is we've actually have within our knowledge base, we have some social media posts that we've prepackaged as offerings to advisors. So that content that they're looking for, and we're actually doing more on that right now to deliver more and more client facing content that they can deliver. And so that's a big function that we see as our role to help advisors within their marketing on that too, with content.
That is awesome. So you're getting resources from Encore. You've got them at White Glove. That is awesome. And that's exactly why we've partnered. So let's
Yeah, exactly.
let's look at some success stories. So we chose two here. Now, there's a lot of great feedback from advisors on how their conversations are going with estate planning, how technology is working for them with White Glove and seminars. But we wanted to narrow it down, keep it short and sweet today. So there's two that we chose. The first one that I want to highlight, if you don't mind, Matt, here is from one of your
Yeah.
customers, Mr. Kumar, who's an advisor in California. And I read this testimonial from Mr. Kumar, and it blew me away. I had to highlight here some of the most important pieces. I won't read this entire thing to you, but overall, estate planning has been a huge value add for Mr. Kumar, for the office there. He mentioned that they generated 200K of revenue just from having this line of business, and that he can recall where there were two instances where he was in competition with another firm where he won the business because they offered estate planning and the competing firm down the street did not. Super duper powerful. He also mentioned that they started obtaining slightly more referrals than they were before. And that overall the AUM business is now stickier because of estate planning. That's exactly what you were saying earlier, Matt. So this is awesome. Again, if you are on this webinar, you can get a copy of these slides. You can take a look at what Mr. Kumar has to say here and read this thoroughly. Overall, six-figure revenue with estate planning. This next slide is going to get a little bit deeper into numbers, especially as it pertains to the marketing piece. I wanted to share with you one of our advisors. His name is Kurt Stahl. He is an awesome representation of why estate planning seminars are so fruitful for your business. And he's worked with us. And I'm going to show you exactly what kind of results he's gotten by starting with the estate planning seminar. So there's a really quick video. I'll make sure my volume's all the way up, and then we'll do a quick highlight on that. And then we're going to open it up for Q&A. So if you've got questions, folks, that you're starting to think about right now, is the time to add them to the chat. So we'll go ahead and move forward to this next video.
We've spent $53,000 a year on marketing through White Glove. So we've spent $53,000 a year on seminars. From that, we've averaged about 289 attendees a year. 145 of those have become first appointments or signed up, booked first appointments. Of those, 50% that is 50% of the attendees have booked for first appointments. Of the first appointments we've booked, 84% have shown up for those appointments. 68% have come for second appointments. I want to point out that there are plenty in there where we did not opt to invite them back for a second appointment. I think that number could easily be 80 or 90 if we were bringing people back where we saw no potential. We don't bring back people if we see that there's no fit or no potential. If we don't, and some of the people come in, I just don't like them. It's nothing wrong with them. I just don't have a connection. So 68% there, and then 41% of those people became clients on average through all of our history since 2017 through the end of 2022. Obviously, The numbers got better through time. That first year in 2017, I started the firm in March, so there was 9 months, and that year I brought in a total of about $4.6 million in AUM and fixed index annuity business. In 2021, sorry, I brought in 57 million in AUM and fixed index annuities. My staff is me and 2 people, so we put the brakes on after 2021. And by design in 2022, we did about 36 million in total assets under management and fixed index annuity business. We're on track this year right now to do about 40 million. And that's where we want to stay. Again, with just 3 of us, that keeps us plenty busy. Throughout this time from 2017 on up through now, we've maintained an ROI that was above 8 on our return on the investment on the money we've invested in these seminars with White Glove.
So let's hone in now on estate planning, right? So you're probably thinking, okay, well, I see some of his production numbers, his revenue, his ROI. What is the cost? Well, looking at Kurt's success, the cost of 2 of these workshops average out about $9,400, but you can see what the immediate commissions are there, $74K. But when you start to factor in, well, what about 10 more years of business, right? If Kurt keeps these clients and does well with them, when it comes to estate planning, there's a higher chance there of creating those more forever clients, lifelong clients. 10 more years of that is another $140K in commission. So he mentioned an 8-to-1 ROI on estate planning seminar. So 8-to-1 is huge, folks. Most of us are looking for about a 4-to-1 ROI with marketing. 8-to-1 is double to that. And then for ROI for the lifetime value of these clients, 15-to-1. So he started with some of the other seminar workshop topics that I showed you: Social Security, taxes, and retirement. And now he is really exclusively honed in on the estate planning workshops, and they are proving to be very fruitful for Kurt. So this is just one of the many stories that we have with White Glove, with Encore, and advisors experiencing this transformation in their businesses. There's one more poll, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A, folks. Now that you've learned a little bit more about the big problem that we see here, the big opportunity, what do you want to do ahead? Do you want to look more into the technology side? Are you thinking about really building out your firm's entire offer, incorporate more estate planning language into your marketing, or is this all of the above? We'll give everyone at least another 10 seconds.
Should be all the above. I can't wait. I'm super excited about White Glove, and I think every Encore firm should absolutely, if they want to grow, they may or may not want to grow. If they want to grow, White Glove and the workshops you can provide them is just an incredible opportunity. And so I'm so excited about seeing our advisors participate with White Glove.
Me too. And I'm excited to share the freebie that we have with everyone today. And just in a moment, we're going to open up Q&A, but I'm also going to show with you where you can go to learn more, what kind of freebie we have. I'm going to end this poll, folks. Let's look and see what your peers said on this webinar. We've got a lot of you on that have joined with us today. 80% of you said all of the above.
I call that a win. We must have delivered something of value here today, Diana. Great job.
I call that a win as well. Thank you, Matt. Great job to you as well. Let's move ahead here. While I give you all just some time to ask your questions, get them in the chat, just remember, right? Estate planning technology is vital in helping you really be able to build out this service and that total comprehensive financial planning without the risk of UPL, unauthorized practice of law. When you lead your marketing and prospecting efforts with estate planning, you both reduce the time to value, which is good. You want that to be quick. And you also attract investors who have an immediate need that you can solve for. And as Laura Galloway likes to say, you get that X-ray vision into their wallet, which is really awesome up front. And finally, these seminars, they're performing really well. Consumer demand is outpacing advisor supply. Seminars are not. Content on social media, content in your newsletter, on your blog, wherever it is you're prioritizing, you should absolutely be touching on this. This is a big opportunity for consumers and also for you as you look to grow. Now we're going to open up a live Q&A. We've got a question slide, but what I'd rather show you as you think about what your questions might be or kind of reflect on what you learned today is where you can really go to learn more. So there's two different pathways here depending on where you want to start. So if you're interested in learning more about EncorEstate plans, you can create a free plan at EncorEstateplans.com. Hopefully I said that right, Matt.
A free account.
A free account.
So advisors account are free. And then we'll give you 50% as a partner with White Glove. We'll give you 50% off your first will or trust place plan that goes through our system when you use that friend of White Glove code when you create your account. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I just dropped that in the chat for everyone. EncorEstateplans.com. Create your free account. Use the code friend of White Glove. And then if you're interested in booking a meeting with White Glove to learn more about the estate planning workshops, I'm going to give you a link here in the chat. It's whiteglove.com/Diana. And this is going to take you directly to a page where you can book a meeting. We've got Michaela that is ready to have a conversation with you. And so she knows anyone who reaches out from this webinar today, she will be there to have a conversation with you. I believe we also had one other individual from the team, but for right now, just have that in mind. You will either reach Michaela when you go to whiteglove.com/Diana. Matt, let's talk a little bit about the downloadable. There we go. Michaela or Maddie. Sorry about that. Michaela or Maddie.
Yeah, one really important thing is we've actually, in partnership with Encore Advisors, White Glove Advisors, you will have the opportunity, the workshop that you want to do around estate planning. We're going to, White Glove, when you sign up for that, when you set up that webinar or set up that workshop, we're going to give you the deliverable of a slide deck that you can take through, the presentation that you can have. That'll be both, you can have some Encore orientation to it and have great content on all the things, Diana. Basically, what you shared, the current advisor who's running these seminars, all of those takeaways, all the aspects that were shared there, that presentation is going to be turnkey for you. And especially if you're Encore and White Glove, that we have that kind of blended in together for you.
That is awesome. So again, if you reach out to White Glove, you'll talk to Michaela or Maddie and book a workshop with us. You'll get this presentation for free, which will help guide you through that seminar. You can use it as is, you can tweak it, you can give it and then tweak it, whatever works for you best. I'm seeing some of the questions come in, Matt, and I think the first I really want to talk through is what Andrew had to say. And I'm glad, Andrew, that you asked this question because it's such a reflection of the fact that there's still a lot to learn on this topic for advisors. So Matt, Andrew said,
yes.
Service the advisor actually providing? Are they drafting documents, assisting with signing the documents, helping clients complete questions? Please explain start to finish. I don't understand.
Yes, the advisor is facilitating the process. You are absolutely not drafting documents. That's the unauthorized practice of law. Encore is drafting the documents. They're created by our attorneys, state specific. Your role is grabbing the client by the arm, recognizing they need to do it. They need a human to sit down with. They're answering the questions. You're leveraging our resources. You're leveraging general education to educate them on what their decisions would look like. You're not giving them specific advice. You're facilitating the experience to get them through it. We're unique in that you can, if you want, send them a link and say, client, fill out the questionnaire. The problem is a lot of people procrastinate on that process. When they're with you on a Zoom or they're with you live, you're helping them get through it. You're leveraging our resources to educate them. That's the value you provide in guiding them through the experience. You're obviously also talking about their existing estate plans. You're making sure the funding, the other question I saw in here that came up is, what is the follow-up, the funding? Absolutely, funding trust-based estate plans with deed filing is super important. We do that work as well. And so part of our pricing, which we can share with you, the quick overview of that, we charge $550 for a trust-based estate plan. We will process and file the deed for the client to make sure it's funded with their properties. We charge $250 in most states for that. We can give you more specifics on the pricing. You can see it on our webpage as well.
Beautiful. That is a wonderful question, and I'm glad that it was upfront to give some clarity here. So the technology is really what is building out anything. And that is where you not get involved aside from getting them set up and empowering them with that. And I think there's something to be said about that as well, Matt, right? Like an advisor who is forward thinking and progressive is going to have technology to support this.
Yes, exactly.
Al asks, can you file deeds in Los Angeles and New York City?
Yes, New York City, we have some limitations there in some of the boroughs because it requires an in-person, but Los Angeles, we file deeds all the time. We have that process built out and make sure, and this is Encore advisors that are producing plans. When you uncover in a seminar that a client has an estate plan, it hasn't been funded with their property, that gap, and you want to serve that client, you can leverage Encore. Will help you with the deed filing in those occasions as well if you're an existing kind of advisor with Encore. And so where you uncover the unfunded trust-based estate plans in your seminar conversations with prospects, we can help with that those opportunities as well.
Wonderful. We're getting so many great questions. Thank you, Ariel, for hopping in and answering a lot of them with resources as well. This just goes to show how many resources you all have built out. For example, Leonard asked if he could list you guys on his website as a resource partner for his clients in this topic of estate planning. I think that was a great question.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Most of our firms have an estate planning now tab on their services. That they can talk through, again, setting the expectations that you're not an attorney, you're not providing legal advice, but you can facilitate the experience for where they need to get to go with partners and list us as the partner for that.
Yep, wonderful.
And the beauty of that, I'll add real quick in there, is that clients can't come directly to us to do an estate plan. You are the one that invites them. The accounts are only for advisors, so we're not a B2C offering. We're not competing with you to go to individual consumers. You as the advisor are our client, and we provide the experience so that you can then invite your clients into our process, or you can guide them through it. We give you a lot of flexibility with the client experience.
Absolutely. Wonderful. We had a question here come to just the hosts and the panelists on exactly what White Glove does with the estate planning seminar. So there's a lot of different, things that I could say there with the actual seminar of it all, which is also reflective of how we help advisors do webinars. If you're not interested in doing a seminar, you can also do a webinar with us. We're going to help you from A to Z. We look at your area. We look to see if there's any other advisors doing workshops on the topic. We want to make sure that you're not overlapping there. We pick the venue for you. We're doing that based on all of our market research. And we also take into account what you have to share with us as well. You know your area very well. We're going to handle all of the marketing. So the price that you're paying to White Glove is inclusive of us running ads online, setting up the events on different event sites. And we're doing it all under that brand that I showed you earlier, the 567, which started with Social Security, then taxes, and now estate planning. So our job is to help fill the room. And that is exactly what we're going to do. That's what we're really good at doing. Your job is to then show up and give a great presentation and connect with people on that more personal level. We're going to give you all the tips and tricks for how to do that well. And of course, with this new partnership with Encore, we'll even give you the free presentation that you can give. But the sticky note method, for example, right? We've seen our advisors use it, have great success with it. So we'll give you all of the information you need there to run it successfully, but we are also filling the room. So it looks like we have some other questions here. Matt, I know you were just jumping into the chat and adding to that. I'm just looking to see if there's any other ones we haven't answered yet before we hop off. I know we're 4 minutes over the hour here, so appreciate everybody sticking around and asking some questions. No, I honestly
think we've got most of them. Yeah,
I think it wraps it up. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Well, everyone, thank you again for coming. I hope that this was valuable to you. You know where you can find us. Head over to EncorEstatePlans.com, create a free account, use that affiliation code, friend of White Glove, for 50% off your first trust or will-based estate plan or a visual plan summary. Powerful way to get started in conversations with prospects. If you're interested in learning more about White Glove, book a call with our team at whiteglove.com/Diana. Michaela is there on the line ready for you, as is Maddie. We cannot wait to hear from you. Matt, any last words on your end?
No, appreciate this partnership. It's a perfect one. And so we're excited to see more Encore advisors working with White Glove. And so it's a great opportunity.
And vice versa. Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah.
Have a beautiful day. We'll see you on our next webinar.
Thanks so much.